Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and joining me at the end of this week, right before Super Bowl Sunday, here is a one Mr. Brian E. Roach. And Brian, I was talking to Flash about this. Well, first of all, you were in a non-disclosed location somewhere where there's a lot of country music.
Yeah, apparently maybe there is. I don't know. I was, I got enough hate mail about my Mason Rudolph comments that I decided I needed to extract myself and move to an undisclosed, unknown location so that the Mason lovers did not come after me.
You're in WITSEC or whatever they call it when you're watching the whatever version, CSI Pittsburgh.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, by the way, folks, the Steel City Underground podcast brought to you by MANSCAPED, precision engineered tools for your family jewels, and some other stuff here. I'll get into that a little bit later in the show. You can see I'm a little got a little bit closer of a cut, Brian. I figured out, I was telling you before, I was like, hey, what's with this thing? It's not cutting close enough. And I figured out that the thing just wasn't, the beard hedger that just released wasn't snapped in all the way. Must have been shifted in.
You know what that is called?
IDIOT error.
Yeah, user error. Yeah,
idiot error. Can you still say idiot is idiot? You know, no. We had a debate.
I was told that is not an acceptable term to use in polite conversation. Now, not that you and I are ever having polite conversation, but nonetheless,
this harkens back to something we cut out of the last show, and we were talking about of my Polish heritage as to whether or not a certain word is derogatory or not. And turns out it looks like it could be flattering or unflattering, but I will not refer to it. But you could probably just guess by saying blank jokes when referring to my Polish heritage. And those usually correspond with blonde jokes and some other varieties as well. But we have a few maybe things and stuff to talk about. It's still a little light on the entire news front here, and whether or not we like this or not, football season is still technically not over. There is one more game to be played this Sunday. Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs. And I just wanted to get some of your thoughts on this. It was cool. I was listening. Cam Hayward was making the media rounds today. I'm not sure if you caught any of that, but he was on XM Radio, NFL Network, talking about Hayward House, playing with his younger brother. That was a really cool story too with the XM one, if you could catch it, because Solomon Wilcots, his brother was in the league at the same time, but not on the same team and not as big of an age disparity. So that was kind of cool hearing them go back and forth on that. Some things he said about Kenny Pickett being the guy. That was great. But he also brought up how he didn't have like really a favorite in this particular game because he still considers Javon Hargrave and Juju Smith-Schuster, who are playing for one of each of both sides here that are in the game. He considered them still to be Steelers and friends and teammates. So just some thoughts on that, man, because that's kind of where I'm at too. I like both of those guys, and having met Javon's like a real quiet, kind of reserved guy too. Juju's fun. Actually, I should say I met both of them. I actually forgot we had Juju on the show at one point too. Yep. So I don't have a horse in the race, so to speak, on this one. I kind of always pull for the team. The Eagles just won one not too long ago, but it just kind of seems like I think that they'll win. It's not necessarily I'm pulling for one or the other.
Yeah, a friend of the show from down under, Peter, who is one of our Aussie listeners. He asked me what I thought, and I would lean towards the Eagles winning this game. I think their defense is more solid, but you never know. Do I care? Look, I live 18 miles from Philadelphia. I don't know if I really want to spend the next 7 months dealing with them. So do I have a slight leaning towards hoping Kansas City wins? Don't tell my brother I said that. But yeah, I probably do. Do I think Kansas City is going to win? No, I don't.
Yeah, I'm kind of in. I really don't know how healthy Patrick Mahomes is going to be for this game either. I think that makes a huge difference on this particular outcome. And I could feel you totally, because I'm not too far from Cincinnati myself now these days. Moved a few years ago, for folks who don't know. So I'm on the other side of Ohio from where I used to be, and putting up with that the whole spring, summer, whatever, even though they lost, they didn't even win the Super Bowl. And it's just annoying. It was really annoying. It's like, I'm sure there's more Eagles fans that have been Eagles fans and they have better support. But in Cincinnati, like, they didn't care about the team until they started winning. Like, this stadium down there, now Paycor, formerly Paul Brown, you'd go for a Steelers and Bengals game and it wouldn't even be entirely full. And most of what it was full with fans were waving terrible towels. So I tend to always make fun of that situation there. And it's still annoying, because they want a playoff game and they want to be like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, I get it. Okay, you had Marvin Lewis for 20 years and didn't win Squadu for 30. So enjoy it while you can, guys. You got one more year of opportunity here. Although defensively, it's going to be interesting. I know they got a lot of cap carryover. Just talking about something different here, a little side notes. They're kind of squirreling away, I think, about $40 million for next year, but they're trying to stockpile because they know T. Higgins is going to hit. Jesse Bates, they've already had problems with trying to get him on the field for this year, and a few others. One of the linebackers, I want to say, as well. So defensively, they may have some concerns there as well, but that's stuff we're going to talk about later. We got more important things here, Brian. Everybody, we had a little bit of this on the last show, but since you and I were talking quarterbacks primarily based off of the Bob Labriola deal, the last time we got together last week, a lot of folks are up in arms about who the next backup quarterback is going to be for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and as to whether or not Mitch Trubisky should still be around, whether or not Mitch Trubisky got a fair shake, Mason Rudolph. You've got all of the above, and I know we've covered some of this, but I wanted to get a little more into the meat and the details of the current crop from last year, who could be a future crop, past backup quarterbacks, and does any of this really matter in the grand scheme of things?
Well, I'm going to answer that question first.
Yeah.
Does it matter? Only in the sense of, how mediocre do you want to be if, for whatever reason, Kenny Pickett were not able to participate? You're almost certainly, unless the defense is really dominant, unless the run game is really dominant, your backup quarterback's not winning you a championship. So, does it matter in the long run? Probably not, in my view. It just depends on how much you care about whether they're competitive in that scenario. You know what I mean? Let's be fair. They're going to be competitive. Mike Tomlin is going to make sure they're competitive regardless of who is at quarterback. That was proved out in the Duck Hodges, Mason Rudolph season. You certainly don't want to go into this season with another rookie as the backup, or with, a non-proven commodity, so to speak. But does it matter? Is it Mitch? Is it Mason? Is it some other guy who's a vet that is out there in the world? I don't know. And, I'll give you my take on this. My 2 cents is Mason's not coming back anyway. Yeah. I believe he has absolutely zero interest in coming back.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
It takes two to tango. We were talking about this, with 4 guys other than Big Ben Roethlisberger and Terry Bradshaw. We were talking about just on the last show and kind of ranking those particular quarterbacks over time. And it gives us an opportunity to put this guy on the screen, he who shall not be named. We could show him, we just can't name him, right? But he's the loser of Super Bowl 30. Does it bug you they've reissued number 14? I think that's a cursed number, although we'll see.
That's George Pickens.
Yeah, hopefully he's turning around. I didn't like that at first.
Destiny. It is his destiny to cleanse the nastiness from 14.
Yeah, but I don't think either of these guys is back. We looked at Mitch Trubisky's statistics We've talked about this. People were saying not a fair shake. He had over 50 starts. He had over 50 starts with the Bears. Well, we knew who he was. Over half of those games, not even like over 2 touchdown passes, and most of them were 1 or 0 touchdown pass games. I think 28 or 29 of those games were 1 or fewer, and we knew that was going to carry over with the Steelers, and it did. And, you know, like we said, we're never wrong. So I'm trying to actually pull up good old Mitchie's stuff here, because he's almost a top 10 paid guy here on the team. You got Watt. You got, as far as cap hit, I think these are ordered by cap number, right? So some of that money is carried over from last year. You won't get to save all of it, but TJ Watt is the king of the mountain here. Cam Hayward, Minka, Deontay, Chooks, William Jackson III, who I don't expect to be around, Miles Jack, James Daniel, and then Mitch Trubisky sitting here at $10.6 million. And as we take a look further down at this and you get into the meat of the details of his contract, they could save $8 million if he's released. This isn't one of those post-June 1 type deals where they're going to have to wait on it. They'll only have to pay out $2.6 million, which is really chump change when you're talking about garden variety contracts and prorated money and things of that nature. So, but for $10.6 million or the extra 8, I don't see it. I don't care how much of a veteran he is. And this will be a caveat as we talk about past backups, because when we were talking about he who shall not be named, Cordell Stewart, Bubby Brister, and Mark Malone, they weren't really knocking anyone's socks off with their performances on the field and their lifetime statistics, sub 60% completions and whatnot, as it would be. So
yeah, I mean, that's all true. Look, is Mitch Trubisky worth the extra $8 million? Because is he a security blanket? I mean, do you deserve to think that he's a security blanket? For the folks who are like, he didn't get a fair shake, he got plenty of a fair shake. All right. He got to play, with the first team. He got all the first team reps, and his production was not good. It was inconsistent. It was hit or miss. You want to blame Matt Canada? Go ahead and blame Matt Canada, because he does carry some of the blame. But as was proved out, once you had Kenny Pickett come in, it wasn't just the play calling, right? There's also something to do with sparking the offense and doing the right things, and having the mentality of a winner, which we questioned about Mitch, after a couple games. Is like, he's just not taking chances. He's not throwing guys open. It's almost like he's the rookie, and he's like, no, that's not open. Yes, that's open in the NFL. You got to go ahead and put the ball out there. He looked like he was playing to not lose his job, which inevitably always makes you lose your job. Do I think there's a reason to keep Mitch Trubisky? No, I actually don't. $8 million in cap savings is a huge amount of money, and can make a difference. And there's a lot of, it'll be interesting to see, as we've said over and over, with this new era, this new group of people in the front office. It's going to be interesting to see what their mentality really is. Is it, let's get a bunch of cap space so we can do something splashy and flashy in free agency? Let's get some cap space just so we can do what we need to do. Are we going to move around what are we going to, we'll see. But on a pure value comparison, is Mitch Trubisky the guy that you want backing up for $8 million? A salary of 10 plus? Probably not.
That's where I've been going all the way back to last year when they made this deal in March. I said, this isn't a contract where this guy's around next year unless he knocks your socks off. And he did. Right. He probably made a bad impression at that.
Let me check. Hold on a second. Yeah, my socks are on. They're not off. My socks are clearly on. All right.
Man, I grew up listening to a lot of announcers, different sports, pro wrestling, lots of cliches. And for those that are the old WWF old school types like myself, Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan and Jesse the Body Ventura and Vince McMahon and these guys. Oh, he hit him in the, solar plexus or something. I'm like, where do you come up with these words and terms? But this place is going bananas. I love that type of stuff. The crowd goes wild, the world goes crazy. I love those type of things. But no, he did not knock anyone's socks off. If anything, your shoes were still on, your boots were secure, et cetera, et cetera. Mitch was exactly who we thought he was going to be, and now here we are, and there are still people that are running to his defense for one reason or another and making some claims and cases. And I understand that Art Rooney in a second, he got asked about him, and what's he supposed to say? No, he's a bum, and when we're kicking him off the team at our first chance that we can. I could assure you that if they didn't want to keep Ben around and they made Ben take a pay cut, there's no way Mitch Trubisky's sticking around for the extra money that could be spent on what was a Larry Ogunjobi contract this past offseason and late offseason free agent addition. But $8 million gets you Larry Ogunjobi. $8 million for a guy to sit on the bench. I'm sorry. $8 million is putting you, I had the full chart up. Let me bring it back up. I mentioned what these cap numbers and cap hits, and I understand that this isn't like the full contract, but even average per year, I mean, just look at it. Mason Cole 6.9, nice. Chris Boswell 5.6. Killer Witherspoon and Levi Wallace are like $5.5 million here. I don't really count the rookie contracts, but then you get down Montravius Adams about $3 million, and a few that's still a rookie contract. Kevin Dotson, even Gunner for that matter. I know Gunner doesn't really work out. 2.6.
There's a question on that one too. I don't think Gunner's back next year either.
Gunner is an interesting one to bring up. There's someone that mentions him quite frequently here in the comments back and forth, and I always forget to bring up his number, but I'm going to bring it up here just to show you. Even though it's still chump change, they saved $2 million. He's not going to play. He already lost it. The reason he was here was special teams and to be the return guy, and that didn't work out.
He lost that. Lost that job.
Effectively, he's gone. And now the question is who do you replace Mitch Trubisky with? Like Gunner is somebody that's Steve Sims is already like out there. I believe Steve Sims is a restricted free agent. I was kind of surprised to see that when we were going through the list because I thought he may have been already tenured, but I don't think he's a tenured NFL veteran because he got cut early and then it was futures contracts and things of that nature. So, but then it becomes who's the next guy, and you get like all of this conjecture, right? They drafted Chris Oladokun instead of Brock Purdy, and it's like insert the eye. Thank you, the eye rolling. I still don't think. Well, Brock Purdy, injury or not, I still don't think he was going to amount to being this Tom Brady-esque. He had a run that's more like Nick Foles, and that's what people see is like, well, you need a backup quarterback. Can you get that with some other backup quarterback? And that's where the argument is. Well, we saw enough of Mason, but Mitch didn't get a fair shake. And it's like, well, hold the phone. I've mentioned this a million times. It's like 10 starts, many of those of which Mason didn't even know he was going to be playing that day or that week. He had very few of those where he was entrenched as a starter, and most of those were in 2019, throwing to Tevin Jones, Deion Kane, handing off to Kareth White or the other Edmonds brother, or who knows, whatever grocery bagger may have been out there playing with them. It was a very much so a preseason type roster with no quarterbacks coach, but he didn't get a shake at all really this year. There was a quarterback competition, but I think they had their mindset on one of two things, and it was both the guys they brought in rather than sticking with him. And when you look at that, and there's basically a vote of no confidence for you by the organization, by the coaches, the staff, that. He was a team player and hung around, but if there's an opportunity to be somewhere else, that doesn't mean he's going to have an opportunity to start, but he's going to have an opportunity. He could be like Chase Daniel. Chase Daniel has made a ridiculous amount of money as a backup in the NFL. And he could just go and bounce around the league and maybe do that instead of coming back to Pittsburgh and knowing that he's firmly number 2. Yeah,
that's the bottom line here. It's like, look, and basically, let me just reiterate this again for everybody who poo-poos on me because they say I'm a Mason hater. Mason Rudolph, I just don't think he's a starting quarterback. You can disagree with that all you want, but I don't think he is. Doesn't mean I hate him. I think he's a very capable backup. If he wanted to stay here, I'd be happy to have him stay here as a backup quarterback. But when you are told effectively by the front office, we have zero faith in you to take control of this team, we're going out and getting other guys, even though they don't say that directly, that's the message that comes across. Look, if I'm Mason Rudolph, I don't want to be here either, right? I want to go someplace where I maybe have a chance to play. And whether you think he didn't get the opportunity or he was short-shifted or the fans turned on him or whatever you think, it doesn't really matter what we all think. What matters is, does Mason have any interest in being back here? And it's absolutely reasonable to expect that he would not.
If I'm in his shoes, I feel the same way. Would I take him back? I'm sure you would take him back too if he would.
Yeah, absolutely.
Want to be
I just said that, didn't I?
Yeah, I
just said that.
Would you take him over Mitch? I would. Yeah. And it's not just the dollar amount. Let's say they're both $4 million, $5 million backups. I'm taking Mason over Mitch. I'd rather the devil I don't know in some cases. People are still going to say that they know. But I think Mason has a semblance of running this offense a little bit better than maybe Mitch might. It just feels like the offense is like in quicksand. I know some of it's Matt Canada,
don't know
but
the answer to that one. Look, if they're both $4 million, I don't know what I do. Right? I'm just being honest. I don't know what I do at that point. If this was the same offense that had been run the entirety of Mason's tenure, then I would say Mason knows it better for sure. I'm not really sure it is. So I don't know. I could go either way. Then. But as it stands,
I don't think either
at $8 million, forget it. I take Mason over Mitch in a heartbeat then.
Yeah, and I don't think either of them will return. And
neither do I.
Yeah, you know what? I had this. I queued this up. Look at this, man. Chase Daniel, $43 million, over $43 million lifetime career earnings since coming into the league 2009. And he's basically been, he was a backup for many years with the Saints. He had stints with the Chiefs and the Eagles, back to the Saints, the Bears, the Lions, and then the Chargers. And that's just wild to me, man. And look at it. A lot of times his average per year, he got paid $12 million with the Eagles. That's just crazy to me. But over the course of the last few years, he's been
how
about
many
a
games
$5
has
million
he played?
Guy. You know what?
Like how many games has he literally started? I'm interested to see like how much money did he make per game that he actually started?
Well, pulling up some of the statistics. We got our stuff from Pro Football Reference. 5 in his entire career. 5.
That's almost $10 million. It's not. It's almost $9 million a start.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? Now he's appeared in.
What did I do? Beat me out.
That's okay.
That's nice work if you can get it, my friends.
Flash has sent this show down the road. I don't know if you caught the last show, but he said that you thought that Photoshop is a place that you go to get your film developed. Like PetSmart.
Dude, I've been using Photoshop longer than that man's been alive.
But Chase Daniel, though, he's appeared in 74 games. He's only had 273 attempts in his pro career. That's mind-blowing to me. That's absolutely mind-blowing.
That's like $200,000 an attempt.
13 years in the NFL.
That's crazy.
13 years. And I mean, and he's not, I'm picking on him, but good for him. Like,
absolutely. Like I said, nice work if you can get it.
Yeah, nice work if you can carry the clipboard or wherever. And I was thinking about this too. Was maybe like I need to see like what Colt McCoy or somebody else did. It wasn't necessarily the direction I was headed with this particular program today. But we do need to discuss the backup quarterbacks. But before we do, I wanted to once again mention that the Steel City Underground podcast is brought to you by MANSCAPED. And you can head over.
Where's the gift?
So, there it is.
Yeah, there we go. I'm so happy now.
This is the only screen that I have it set up for, I think. So otherwise, it like actually will float over one of our heads. So
you should show that. That would be fun. Put it over somebody's head. Come on.
That would be pretty interesting. But head over to manscaped.com and today, and you can get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code SteelCity20. And it's not too late. It's getting close. We're up against it. But Valentine's Day right around the corner. There you see their traditional performance package with the grooming tools, the nose hair trimmer. That's the weed whacker. But Brian, and I know you know this, I know you've got it handy, and it's the whole You can barely see I even have a beard, but in this nice little nifty case, I have what are we calling this one? I know it's the beard trimmer, beard hedger, but I have to get the official name of this. It says beard hedger. I think that was it. I thought it was called like lawnmower or something of that nature, but my apologies to Manscaped if I butcher this entirely. But it's time to tame your mane. No one likes a weird beard. Say goodbye to all your stubble trouble with Manscaped's Pro Beard Kit. So you get this out, and this sucker, this is another one of those rechargeable deals. This is awesome. It's got, you don't have to fool around with different heads and stuff. It comes off. All of the pieces come apart here, and you just I don't want to click it too short because I didn't have this pushed in all the way. So there's a pro tip for everyone. In case you do this, you're going to get a little too close here on the chin, and you've got yours with you. He's traveling with it, and yeah, turn it off. This is truly Hollywood movie magic there. Yeah, you didn't want to actually trim it, get little hairs and everything everywhere there. But now Manscaped sells beard products. That's right. They're once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shape your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com using the promo code SteelCity20 for 20% off and free shipping.
Is it gonna do color? Like, I guess
I know.
length.
We're a little old for that part of it, right?
Now, it's like the drapes. Look, the whole terminology of drapes matching your carpet is when people are like, "Is the hair color the same as the other color?" It isn't. Like, no. I'm sorry. I love Manscaped. I love you guys, but that's no good.
I was just talking about there's an actual term for this. This is the rotary wheel, they call this. You could zoom in on it. I could zoom in a little bit, but it's got all the different lengths and stuff there. So this is the juggernaut of fixing faces, Brian. First off, this cordless trimmer, the rotary wheel, gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. No more messy drawers, full of extra add-ons. So face grooming doesn't need to be hard. Get 20 different beard lengths with just one guard. That's always been my problem with these things. And I was sort of complaining to you off air the one day. I was like, wait a minute, it didn't get close enough. And it was like yesterday. I did this once with my eyebrows, not with this gizmo, but many years ago, I accidentally whacked. I had the thing that I was using at that time a little too close. And once you get it a little naked right there, you can't go back. So right now, I just got the stubble going. It's got to grow back in. It'll be back in by next week, by the time I do the next show, I guarantee you, because although I'm not quite Flash when it comes to looking like a woolly mammoth or whatever with his genes, it grows quickly. It grows quickly when you're trimming this stuff. So it's definitely, I'm very impressed with it now that I actually learned how to use it. And that was part of my problem of showing it on the show. I'm like, I got to use this thing. I don't like to just pimp out stuff that I don't use or don't have any kind of, experience with. So moving forward from that, Mitch, Mason, or whoever it has to be. Why does it always have to be some all-pro quarterback that needs to be a backup quarterback? The past guys that the Pittsburgh Steelers have had are just, I almost said ass, but they are for the most part. That's the reason why they're backup quarterbacks. We talk about this quite frequently when we talk about whatever going on in the NFL and somebody goes in and it's gloom and doom and can somebody carry the team to a victory? Well, I know I said a lot of bad things about Mitch and you say some bad things about Mason. We have our criticisms of them, but what do you expect? You're not going to get much of anything different than what we were talking about. Maybe a touchdown here or there. Lucky if you get 60% of passes completed. These guys don't normally play. Chase Daniels doesn't even have 300 career attempts in 13 years in the NFL, and he's one of the probably the highest paid backup quarterback that's lived. You have Josh Johnson, who's been around all over the place, and he can't retain a job. Tyrod Taylor's floating around somewhere. That's actually a name that's kind of interesting. I don't know if he's part of the free agency mix. And I'm gonna bring up a list of backup quarterbacks, particularly the past backup quarterbacks for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And let's see. Let's just you know what, Brian? Just name someone. Should we name Charlie? Let's go with Charlie Batch. Charlie Batch is considered what, the best backup
greatest backup quarterback in the history of the team.
Yes, that's what people say, right? And
beat the Ravens. That's why. Beat the Ravens. He's the greatest ever.
and I could pull that game up and tell you exactly how that kind of played out.
I know. Don't do it.
Sean Sweesham's foot.
Yeah, I know.
Sean Sweesham. But he got you in position. I think he ran for a touchdown, maybe. Or maybe he had a short pass in that same game. They scored like 13 points, I think, if memory serves me correctly. But 4-year starter in Detroit. He was 19 and 27 as a starter. About 1,300 or so attempts, 56% completed, not quite 10,000 yards, 49 touchdowns to 40 interceptions. That's the type of guy that you end up with that comes over to Pittsburgh. And when he's called upon, he has a 6-3 record with the Pittsburgh Steelers, 59.4 completed for 2,069 yards. That
Nice.
works. 12 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, though. So you consider 9 starts and 33 appearances, 278 attempts, which is about as much as Chase Daniel. And Charlie probably didn't make nearly as much money, different time and a different era. So that's what you're looking at here. I'm going to pull up Byron Leftwich here in a second, but I'm not just poo-pooing all over Charlie. Am I right? Is that, kind of didn't succeed as a starter elsewhere, high expectations, and toils around as a backup and does just enough that you win some games. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. And a lot of that had to deal with phenomenal kick-ass defense, which I think the Steelers have or could potentially have here heading into 2023 to help support whoever that might be besides if it should be anybody besides Kenneth Shane Pickett.
Yeah, look, a backup quarterback wins not because they are starter capable. The backup quarterback wins because the team is able to lift itself up to make up for the deficiency that the backup is going to inherently give you, right? That the coaching staff is able to find ways to call games to the strengths of this guy and cover up his weaknesses. It's not. None of the backups that the Steelers have had are like, oh, these guys could have walked off and been starters elsewhere. That's the reason that you're a backup, right? Yes, maybe you're serviceable enough, and that is really what you want. You want what you hope. Look, if you were to lose your starting quarterback for a season, forget it. Your hopes are dashed. Your dreams are crushed. You're done. Okay. That's generally supposed to be the case. That's generic thinking. Yes, you can one-off instances where that wasn't true in different times at different places, but for the most part, that's the case. Okay. But what you really hope is if I get my quarterback gets a high ankle sprain or tweaks something and needs to sit out, gets the flu and can't play, whatever it may be, that you got a guy who maybe at least has a chance to carry you through a game or two, right? And that's what you are hoping for. It's not a Hall of Fame guy, right? It's not a Pro Bowl level guy. That's what you hope to get, right? And please don't throw the Tyler Huntley all pro bull because he didn't deserve to be an all. Or what you say. He wasn't a Pro Bowler. He was not good enough for that.
I was ripping on that on the last show, actually. His numbers, you want to talk about somebody who's non-deserving of that. You take a look at Tyler Huntley, let's see, this past year alone, 67% completed. That actually surprises me. 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, Brian, on 112 attempts, and that gets you in the Pro Bowl. I don't know about that. Hey, Byron Leftwich, not to be an offensive coordinator, but as a backup quarterback with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he only had the one start in Pittsburgh ever, believe it or not. And he had some different games. This was the game against Baltimore. This was a primetime game, I think. I don't remember. Sunday Night Football, I think. I mean, holy cow, man. 50% completed, 46.1. He couldn't find, Mike Wallace. He couldn't find anybody deep. I guess he hurt his ribs. There was, he took a couple of sacks. They relied on him throwing the ball 39 times. This was a 13-10 loss against the Ravens. And that's kind of what kind of what you were looking at.
Let's put that back up for a second. You know what stands out to me on that little chart there is that he was 32.309 years of age.
I don't know how they They calculate it by the actual birthday. It'll tell you down to the day how old or whatever that they are.
Quarterbacks really drop off the cliff at 32.375 years of age. So I'm just letting you know.
that would be, that would be kind of the truth.
Statistics sometimes are dumb. Just say it was 32.
Yeah, we know what statistics. I'm not trying to be completely a stats whore here because we know, like we said, Charlie, and going back to Charlie, I got Charlie back up here too. It was like a tale of two games. You had that Cleveland game where I think they turned the ball over a total of, well, it wasn't just all Charlie. He had 3 picks, but they had 7 turnovers against the Browns at Cleveland on November 25th, 2012. Yeah. No, nobody wanted to win that game. The Browns turned it over 5 times in that very same game. Yeah, there was like 12 turnovers. That was so ugly. It was Chris Rainey fumbling. I'll never forget that because I was actually there. And then I had the flu or whatnot, and I'm watching this game. This might have been another night game, the one off Sweesham's foot. But he completed almost 69.4% of his passes. Nice. He had a touchdown. He had a pick. He only took the 2 sacks. I mean, against the Ravens, that's pretty good stuff. Hey, I was close. I was close in the ballpark of thinking 3-0, but it was 23-20 actually. And the way this ended up playing out, let me see. We had. No, I do not want us to subscribe to your newsletter. Get out of the way. Let's see. Sweesham, field goal, 46-yarder. Tucker, 45-yarder. Tucker, a short one. Anquan Bolden, it was 13-3, and then 13-6. Another Sweesham field goal at halftime. Jonathan Dwyer got a run, 13-all. Ray Rice, remember that name, 34-yard run, 20-13. Heath Miller, 7-yard pass from Charlie Batch. I wonder what kind of drive that was. That was a fourth quarter drive.
Yeah, it's a sort of a group of running backs of infamy there, Jonathan Dwyer and Ray Rice. I mean, both of them have their legal issues, and
yeah, and this is pre Le'Veon Bell getting drafted 2013, and this is why. Jonathan Dwyer with 16 carries for 49 yards, Ike Redmond 9 for 43. Yep. He couldn't really use those guys in the pass game, and then Will Johnson 2 catches for 9 yards. He didn't get a carry, but look at that, man. Emmanuel Sanders, Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown, Heath Miller. Really good support around the backup quarterback, right? And Joe Flacco ended up throwing a pick in this game. He took a few sacks. Let me see. You had a handful of sacks by James Harrison. You had Larry Foote, Ziggy Hood, probably one of the few times we could say that he sacked quarterback also in this game. So it's not just I'm not trying to just dump on Charlie. There was really some nice late game heroics as part of this. And you come down to that final drive. It was only 4 plays and 2 minutes for 27 yards following a punt, and it didn't look all that great because Charlie threw that interception to drive right before the final 2 scores, the touchdown, and then 12 plays, 61 yards as part of that final deal, and he got it done. And you got to have a little bit of that lightning in a bottle, but consistency-wise, overall, it's kind of like the same thing with Mitch Trubisky. So can Mitch get you by? Probably. Can Mason get you by? Probably. Can someone else get you by?
Probably.
More than likely. Yeah, more than likely.
And again, I'm not poo-pooing Charlie Batch. I think he did a fine job as a backup quarterback. He was a solid backup quarterback for us. It's what we want. I'm not even poo-pooing Mason Rudolph as a backup quarterback. I think as a backup quarterback, he does a fine job. So I that's all you really want and anticipate and expect. So when they signed Joe Flacco to be their backup quarterback,
you know what? Don't say that's out. I think he's going to end up retiring.
I hope he ends up retiring because that sucker couldn't beat the damn Dolphins and put us in the playoffs. But look, there'll be names out there. There'll be competent, solid guys who can be the guy that can carry you through a game or two. There's not going to be a guy that if Kenny Pickett goes down is going to carry us to the promised land.
Unless people think you're going to draft a guy like that in the 4th or 5th round and develop them. And I got a comment for that. And that comment is, let's take a look at some other statistics. First, remember Michael Vick?
Yep.
I probably don't want to in his years in Pittsburgh. He was 35 years old. He got 3 starts in entering his time in Pittsburgh. I guess to statistically 2-1 as a quarterback. 66 attempts, 60.6% completed. That actually surprises me. 371 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. But also he got hurt and was never seen from again. And we know that he had struggled to try and find Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant on the field.
Yep.
And a lot of the criticism towards a guy that you draft late, like a 3rd rounder, like Landry Jones, was, oh, well, Martavis Bryant just takes the ball, pitch and catch type situation. The alien takes it to the house. And, well, that's good. That's good supporting cast. So when we bring up Landry Jones, and not to mean to just completely be a whore for the statistics here, but 63.9% completed, 3-2 as a quarterback. I know one of those was Ben coming in. He only played, Brian, he played like 3
downs against the Browns.
3 downs, got hurt his pinky nail, and Ben came in and set all the backup quarterback records for the team against the Browns. But Landry, 8 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, 1,310 yards, 169. There's that number, man. That number is just play the lotto tonight. 6 and 9s. Put it in your lineup. It's everywhere. But again, you got to hope. Landry wasn't always that decent. You know what I mean? Look at his 2015 year, and that's really when the only time they allowed him to play is because they were forced to. 58.2 completed. He got that one game against the New England Patriots the year 2016. He had 558 yards passing that year. He played 2 games, 1-1. He had one, I think that was the year maybe he had the one bad game against Kansas City. Maybe that was back in 2015 actually. But 4-2 TDs, touchdowns, interceptions, and then he had a lot of the games where he played at the very end of the year, and he got some mop-up duty as starters got some rest, so it's a little, not necessarily padded, because the Browns threw everybody out there at them that one year. I think it was like RG3 or something, and without 2017, would that have been Juju scoring, maybe, or Kobe Hamilton maybe even on the one. There was a walk-off game where they won in overtime.
2017 seems too early for Juju.
Yeah, that probably was 2016 was Kobe Hamilton. 2017, no, Juju was drafted in 2017. He was the 2nd-round pick behind TJ Watt, and then it was James Conner and Cameron Sutton that season. So that was actually when people say, hey, that's not, Steelers can't draft or whatever. But Landry Jones also was drafted, what year was he, what did he come out of? 2013. So he had 3 years, this is like his 4th year or whatever almost in the NFL, before he had 2-3 years of experience at least sitting and watching what to do before he wasn't even really called upon. Bruce Gradkowski got hurt. So anyway, just to kind of move this along, you could draft a guy, but if you're drafting a guy, I think he's going to be QB3 on this particular depth chart, which kind of gets us into now talking about who are some free agent quarterbacks, who are some guys that might actually show up and be available if they aren't brought back by their current teams. This always gets to be
Lamar.
Quite the... He's going to be the backup for Kenny Pickett.
Bring in Lamar to back up Kenny Pickett. Come on.
Yeah, that would be quite hilarious, to be completely honest.
Please, let's not start that conversation.
Yeah, so we kind of look at, who's at the top of this list that's going to be a free agent? Well, he's not really. He just retired already. Tom Brady, bring him in. I hear that guy's pretty good, or might be good in a pinch. But some names that might be available. Baker Mayfield, he's probably still trying to look for a starting job. Maybe he liked it with the Rams and at least gives it another go, because you don't know what's going to happen with Matt Stafford. Sam Darnold, I don't know that he's going to be back in Carolina. Carolina's probably wiping the slate clean again. Jimmy Garoppolo, probably looking to be QB1 somewhere. Yep. So that's not the kind of names I think that you're looking for.
Darnold has some prospects here. Look, I mean, when you talk about, go from Bridgewater up, right? In that list. And you're right. Garoppolo is going to want to be QB1. Baker is hoping to be a QB1, but Sam Darnold maybe isn't thinking that way anymore. I mean, at this point, he might just be happy to get a job.
Yeah, that's in all seriousness, it kind of reminds me of like a Josh McCown, but I think he'll fetch at least a higher dollar amount.
He's got starter starts. So that, he's not going to come in at a $2 million, $3 million tag.
No,
vet minimum
6, 7,
tag.
maybe
6 to 7, which
8.
is probably more than I want to pay.
I think it's going to be a situation like Marcus Mariota getting signed in Atlanta, and then they drafted Desmond Ridder.
Yep.
I think it will look something very similar to that, where it won't be a very big paycheck. So I don't know that necessarily he'd be available. People have always talked about Teddy Bridgewater, and I don't know that I see that. I don't see him in the same light. Daniel Jones, for all intents and purposes, he gets tagged or he's brought back.
He's not going to
be available. Mason Rudolph's on this list. What's this listed by? Current APY, average per year? Yeah, it is. So Mason was actually making a decent buck. Jacoby Brissett's kind of interesting. And if you're Cleveland, I don't know why you would want to not bring him back. But
and he's going to want to be able to say, look what I did as the starter for the Browns. He's going to want a shot probably.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And his numbers weren't exactly terrible. It gets you right in the same kind of ballpark. He's also a guy that could move on his feet. I think he's a little bit better of a passer, or reads the field a little better than Mitch did. So I think he'd be an upgrade. And it's tough to say because I thought he was going to be complete crap with the Cleveland Browns. I really didn't give him a chance at all, and he kept them afloat.
No, you flipped that.
Cases.
Yeah, you flipped that. When you go back and look at the two starting quarterbacks that the Browns had, Jacoby Brissett was much better than the other guy.
yeah, and I'm trying to.
And that may not pan out next year. I'm picking my spot there, but
we don't know.
Deshaun Watson was not good.
Yeah, we don't know. And when you look at Brissett's numbers, I mean, 4-7, 369. There's that number again, Brian. 369 attempts, 64 completion percentage, 2,600 plus yards, 12 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. How many sacks did he take?
Go to Deshaun for the second half of the season.
Yeah. I'll bring up Deshaun. It takes a second because I got everything zoomed in and I can't even find the search feature here. So let's see. Deshaun's numbers. Let's see. With Cleveland, 170 attempts, sub 60%, 58.2, 1,102 passing, 7 touchdowns to 5 picks, and he took 20 sacks in fewer games, right? That's 6 starts. Jacoby had to have all the rest of them, I think. Let's see. 11 of them. Yeah. So Jacoby maybe didn't have all the yardage and wasn't relied on. Maybe they leaned on the running game a little more, which is probably what that team should have been doing. Yes. Yeah.
Which they should.
I think Geno Smith's found his place with Seattle.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Flacco, we said, should retire. Case Keenum, it's not a guy I'm looking for. Maybe the Bills keep him around cheap too.
No, please just skip that one. I don't want to even say it. I don't want to say
Andy
it out
Dalton.
loud. Just go. No, stop.
When you know somebody from you, he used to play in the division, Brian. It's somebody that you know. It's got.
I don't want a guy who throws the ball away on 4th down with the game on the line.
lead feet. He's not moving anywhere.
I'm out with him.
Some of these other names might be interesting, like a Mike White. I don't know that he's out there available. CJ Beathard, not interested. Kyle Allen, not interested. Taylor Heineke, I don't know where he may end up. Lamar Jackson's on this list. Blaine Gabbert, that's a no. Chad Henne, if he doesn't retire in 6th round, or Chase Daniel, no. Nick Mullins, no. I'm not interested. Drew Lock. That's like a QB3. That's like a Zach Mettenberger or Paxton Lynch. Okay, this guy, he was a former 1st-round pick with some pedigree. Let's throw him on the bench.
See if we can salvage him. Oh, we can't? Okay, bye.
Brandon Allen, Josh Johnson. I mean, then you get down to like the Tim Boyles, Nate Petermans, Joshua Dobbs.
Oh, please no.
Nate Sudfeld, Jeff Driscoll,
How the
Cooper
hell
Rush.
is Nate Peterman still playing anyway?
I tell you, it's that NFL thing, man.
Wow, man, that there speaks to the absolute dearth of quarterback talent in the NFL. Nate Peterman still has a damn job.
And we'll see if he still does. Derek Carr, he's trying to get it out of Dodge with the Raiders. Josh Jacobs was pretty tight-lipped today when asked about all of this other situation and stuff too. So Carr going to the Saints, that's probably going to free up Dalton. Jameis Winston might end up released or something. I don't know what his contract looks like.
I would take Jameis Winston as a backup.
Yeah, and I think that is a former 1st-round pick. Probably not going to command a whole lot of. I gotta see this, man. I gotta see what kind of contract do we have for Jameis Winston. Give me 1 second, Brian, as I pull up the old. I need a name for this.
I've given you like 10 of these now. You only asked for one. I'm giving you at least 10.
What's that? Oh, guys.
Seconds.
Oh, 10 seconds? No. He's still under contract. Wow. You're not going to want to see this one. I don't think there's any way, like the Saints, what are the Saints doing with their cap ever? Like this team, they've been in cap hell. Look at this figure. 29-year-old Jameis Winston has a cap number of 15.6 with 11.2 of dead money. Yeah, they only saved 4.4. I thought it would have been flipped like that. I'm like, yeah, you know what? They could eat 4.4 and let this guy go and save 11.
They are going to avoid those void years.
Yeah, those the void years. I don't know how much of this was from a guarantee or any kind of a structure, but geez, he's got void hits of 8.4, 5.6, and 2.8. He's got an extra 3 years beyond the 2023 season. Like, I understand that they were just wrecked on the cap. This guy didn't even, how many games did he play in last year? Not enough. He was effectively benched for, wow. Like, I didn't realize that his numbers were just that bad. 3 starts, 3 games that he appeared in last year, 63.5% completion percentage, 858 yards, 4 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Yeah, the guy's an interception machine. But again, we're talking about former first-round pick that has, man, this is going to lead us back to Marcus Mariota, who I thought was worse off than a Mitchell Trubisky. Not to say that he's necessarily available either, but holy cow, a 2-year, $28 million contract, $21 million guaranteed, 15.2 fully guaranteed at signing, with a $14 million signing bonus. And if he's on the roster the third day of the 2023 league year, $5.8 million fully guaranteed. That base salary is 12.8. So I guess that other 5.8 might be spread out over those void years. I don't have the legalese in front of me, but wow.
If they don't get out of that, well, I don't know. Maybe they just feel like they can't get out of it at this point. I don't know. That's a mess of a contract. So
yeah.
I mean, again, when I say I would take Jameis Winston, I'm talking cheap.
Yeah, but they 4.4 part of it,
inspiring me. I said you don't want a rookie backup. None of these guys are inspiring me not to draft a quarterback in the 4th or 5th rounds and say that's my backup. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. It's a deep quarterback
bring
class.
Josh Dobbs back. Just bring Josh Dobbs back, and we can be content.
You know what? I'm mildly serious about this. Is QB2 or even QB3? Put him on the bench. Put him on the roster. Yeah. They were pretty much grooming him that IR year as like a coach player. So may as well. Speaking of, well, you had another thought on that with Dobbs.
I was going to say, not on Dobbs per se, but when you look at the availability, you look at what is going to be out there. You look at the potential free agent backup quarterback type candidates. Maybe you do pay Mitch or not Mitch. Maybe you try and restrict your Mitch down to 6, or you try and pay Mason 6 and keep one of them. You got it. You can't do it at the number that they're at. And Mason may be harder to keep because if he comes in, he knows he's got 0 chance at this point to look at a starting role. And if he's ever going to have one, he has to go find it someplace else because he's not going to have it with this team. So I do think that bridge is burnt. But you know what? With what else is out there, I still can't stomach paying Mitch $8 million, or sucking up that $8 million of cap space for him at, what is it, $10.5 million actually the salary number is, or 12.
Yeah, 10.2. And I don't know what that probably doesn't include any incentives if he actually does play and throws for X amount of whatever. Let's say Pickett's out for 6 to 8 games and you're paying even more. And
I'm just telling you,
I don't know if that's worth it.
Yeah, you're looking at it at whether it's worth it or not. It may be the best or the less evil of all the evils that exist. I mean, where else do you go? Man, I can't, even if they trade,
and you know what?
And they get Derek Carr, I can't do Andy Dalton. I just can't.
No, there's no Derek Carr is going to fetch he's going to.
No, I said even if they trade him to the Saints.
Yeah.
I can't, and Andy is scrapped because of it. I can't bring, whatever howdy doody to town. I just can't do it.
Hey, this is going to surprise the hell out of you too. I was bringing this up and it was like the total It's cap number again, so take this tongue in cheek. But you go down this list. Obviously, Deshaun at $55 million. Oh, that's such a great joke. Derek Carr, like he's almost a $35 million guy. Carson Wentz, that's a guy that I have no interest in. Jameis Winston is right behind Stafford and Murray, and somehow Marcus Mariota got a pretty decent contract out of that. Burrow is making a little bit more money, and there's Mitch Trubisky right in there. But as you continue to go down and down and down, there's like Tyrod Taylor, Colt McCoy. Let's see who else is a backup or perennial backups. Nick Foles, Trevor Siemian, Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer's got to be up there in age too. But
Brian Hoyer must be as old as I am.
These guys, but those are the type of names. There might be guys that are casualties as part of business that aren't necessarily scheduled free agents, so to speak. So yeah, how old is Brian Hoyer? And we talk about guys who've made some money over the years. And Brian Hoyer, he's going to be 38, man. So he's up there. He's up against it. He's made $35.5 million over the course of his career.
Nice.
That's
I guarantee you his pay rate is per game started and per pass attempted is less than what's its faces.
Yeah, he definitely because he actually started in some cases.
Yeah.
So the last thing, Brian, to bring up, and this is only because it was in the comments. We had the 4 quarterbacks. We talked about he who shall not be named, Cordell Stewart.
We never talked about Tommy Gunn. You're right.
We never talked about. Somebody said Tommy Gunn. Well, but it wasn't in the question to asked and answered. So someone said, where would you put Tommy Maddox in this conversation? And it's really tough because I was once again
stats. I need to see.
I am pulling.
I can't do it off of anything
I know, and I did. I pulled this originally when I was looking and debating on some of this. So you have his Pittsburgh career, 5 years. He had 32 starts, 15, 16, and 1 as a starter. 1,036 attempts. So yeah, primarily a running football team. Sub 60% completion percentage, 7,139 yards, 42 touchdowns to 40 interceptions. So when you're doing that, he's right in the same ballpark with the other guys. He really is.
I can't put him above the one that I don't mention. And I don't think I can put him above Slash. I just don't think I can.
Can you put him above anybody though? Like what kind of,
I could put him above Bubby.
You put him above Bubby? Yeah. Is it because he had, he only had the 02 year where he played in, he has 2 playoff games. He has a win and a loss in the playoffs.
I said I could also argue Bubby should be above him. I could that's my cutoff though, is the Bubby level is the cutoff. I can't put I can't put Tommy Gunn any higher than that.
So would Maddox be above Mark Malone though? Because what was the order of the 4?
Mark Malone. Mark Malone's
we put Cordell as the top one, right? Of the guys that aren't Terry and Ben. So it was Cordell, and then we put Bubby above. We put he who shall not, and then Bubby, and then Mark Malone,
and then Mark Malone. So he's Maddox. Above Mark Malone. Everybody's above Mark Malone. I'm sorry.
Where would you put Terry Hanratty?
Terry Hanratty's above Mark Malone. Come on, give me
everybody we just named. Mike Vick, Landry Jones, they're all above.
No, okay, no. Mike Vick is not above Mark Malone. That's unfair.
That really is.
Mike Vick in his early years, clearly, but not Pittsburgh Mike Vick.
Pittsburgh Mike Vick was just not the way we would have wanted it. And it's funny because they actually sold. They had his jersey. They had it pressed, primed, and that was available for sale.
I'm just telling you, that was fanboy draft. That was fanboy. That was a fanboy signing. That was everybody on the team going, "Ooh, we love Michael Vick. Let's bring him in." And he was just,
he was available. That's because Bruce got hurt.
Gregkowski got problems.
Gregkowski got hurt. Mike Tomczak. You put Tomczak above Malone? I think I could. Could probably make a case for Tomczak.
I could think about it. I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah. You probably wouldn't put Kent Graham.
No, good Lord, no.
He's like, don't name that guy at all. Hey, speaking of, it's the same thing, pedestrian type numbers. When we talk about, let's bring up Tomczak real quick, just because I got it here. 7 years in the Berg. And Tom Zach, 15-12 as a starter, 973 attempts, 66.49 passing yards, 56.1 completion percentage. It's not very good because he had 37 touchdowns to 43 picks. Yikes. So he's clearly distant beyond those guys. He had 27 starts, so he ups and downs. And maybe Jim Miller didn't get very much play at all, but he was in there. He was in that time period as well where they were trying to do some different things. We're up against it, Brian. Thanks, man.
Can
Thanks
we not relive this anymore?
Well, we did this.
You know, I could see us revisiting this horrible period of quarterback time in Pittsburgh history if we were in it again. But we're not. So let's not talk about it.
Are you certain? Are you for certain that
hell no, I need at least another 5 years to be certain of that.
I know. Well, 5 years, that's another contract. So that means in the way these things are going.
If he's done well enough to earn another contract, then I feel comfortable.
I know. That's pretty tough, man. Man, I was really trying to get your goat here, and I couldn't find I can't even find an image because it kind of predates the internet and stuff of Mike Tomczak in a Steelers uniform. So I was trying, man. And he was all over the AFC North too, right? He was with the Browns at one point, I know for sure. So,
yep.
Oh, maybe. Hold on. No, it's not the guy that we wanted, unfortunately.
Oh, put him in a Buckeye uniform. Yeah, what the hell?
There you go. There's Brister, though.
Bubby.
I did find a Bubby, number 6.
The Bubster.
So, yeah, 6 and 16, some famous numbers for that. So, folks, that'll do it for us. Brian, have some good time. Enjoy your country music, my friend.
Let me just tell you, I've now been to the Country Music Hall of Fame, not on purpose, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and one is infinitely superior to the other. Because not to make them mad at me here, and you know, whatever, it was that Country Music Hall of Fame is crap.
Fantastico. All right, my friend, that'll do it for us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Steel City Underground podcast, and share it too. Let some of your friends and stuff. We appreciate the comments when you say, "Hey, you guys are awesome." Go tell a friend. Let's get this thing blown up. You know, we're gonna roast some of the trolls anyways, but there's been some really good commentary, so keep those comments coming, and we'll catch you again next week sometime. Obviously, a little slow news period. We'll see how the Super Bowl plays out. Have some commentary about that. Probably talk about the commercials. That's what I'm most interested in at this point. And they release those early, so it's like you can actually get up and take a pee break. And you got a DVR. You can go back and watch it now. It's not as much of whatever. And then what? Rihanna is the halftime show.
You're talking about old tech and DVR? That's old tech, man. What are you talking about?
Well, it's kind of like people still
just
say
rewind. Pause TV. You can pause live TV. You know that, right? Just freaking pause it and then fast forward and rewind. DVR.
Okay. All right. I'm going to roast you on this one, my friend, talking about old technology and whatnot. Let's see if I can actually pull this up. And like, I want to tell you that YouTube TV actually, here we go. I've got this. I got to pull it up in the appropriate whatever. Here we go. They actually say, and this is not being like sold by us or anything like that. Unlimited DVR space. It's not an actual DVR. It's just that's the way it's become the term.
DVR. It's a
like
recorded
Google something
thing. Yes.
Google it. I'm gonna Google you.
Get it out of your Google Drive.
Until next time, folks. That'll do it for us. My name's Joe. His name's Brian. We encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good. Maybe get a tryout job for a Pittsburgh Steelers backup quarterback in camp, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.